going to start off with a program that San Francisco #2 is very involved in, and that's a anti-human trafficking initiative that they're working on. One of the great things about Zoom is I get to attend a lot of more club meetings than I normally would get to do, and I steal all their speakers. So 2 weeks ago, I was at San Francisco #2, and they were talking about this, and Janine Padilla, who is their lead on this in San Francisco #2, spoke. But unfortunately, she has got a lot on her plate and she can't come tonight. But Chris Eggers from San Francisco #2 is going to step in graciously with us. So with that, they have a video that they'd like to share first, and Bob's going to tee that up and play that. So whenever you're ready, Bob.
Alex. Can you come a second, Alex? I'm on this Zoom session. How do I get the picture? Yeah, trate de apretar. ¿Cuál apretaste? There's a video that's they're showing.
Okay, thank you for that, for showing that. And Chris Egger from San Francisco #2, you want to talk about what your club's doing in regards to this?
Absolutely. Thank you, everybody, for having me. Janine asked me to step in tonight, and it's a pleasure to meet all of you, and I look forward to seeing all of you very soon again after this. I am part of the Anti-Human Trafficking Committee with SF2. I am also the incoming Vice President of Club Services starting in July of 2021. I worked undercover for a number of years with the Oakland Police Department, and part of my assignments was dealing with prostitution and vice. So I was very interested in joining this committee because my optics are a little bit different than most people in regards to human trafficking and prostitution. So I've seen the worst of it. This is heavy stuff, and I'm really happy that Rotary is getting involved in trying to change this and help as many people as we can. This crime in particular transcends all ages, races, income levels, backgrounds, educations. It's not specific to just women. Children are involved, men as well, and it's some pretty heavy stuff, but it's important to address it, I think, and I'm again very proud that Rotary is part of this. That video is very telling. It's a very, very common story from all of the women that I've spoke to when I was working undercover. The goal there was to not arrest them for prostitution, but to really try to get them into services and away from that life and prosecute the pimps and other offenders that are involved. It's a very, very tough crime to prosecute because a lot of people feel very close to their offenders and the people who control them. So it can be very tough, but it can be done. Janine wanted me to mention a virtual series that there's going to be more info to come on that, but it's with Laurel Botsford, who is somebody who's represented to Rotary in the past around the Bay Area. And she's building into the fabric of everyday life the skills preventing human trafficking, different signs, things to look for. And she graduated from the FBI Citizens Academy, so it's going to be great to have her do a virtual series, and Janine will put more info out soon as that comes. So again, thank you very much for having me, and I appreciate being able to speak in front of you today.
Thank you, Chris. Are you going to be with us the whole time, or do you need to sign off?
I'm going to have to sign off shortly, unfortunately.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions for Chris or about how they can be involved? Or as always, I do send out the agenda with people's contact information after the program. So if it is something that your club or you yourself would like to be involved with, I'll make sure you have that information.
And please, I'm glad my contact info is going to be shout out to everybody. Please don't hesitate to reach out to me. You know, this stuff can be, you know, some people don't feel comfortable asking questions in public,
Right.
and I understand that. So please, please, please reach out. I'm an open door, and I'm happy to pass along any info I can to Janine or answer any questions that I can. So.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for being here. And I think it's terrific that your club is focusing on this. And as you say, it's a tough problem, but it's nice
Can
to
I
see
ask a
Rotary.
question? I'm not quite sure how I press a button, but
Go ahead. Go
I'm
Jackie.
a little bit unclear as to what you are doing with your project and what you need the money for. Is it to send out the video, make more publicity about this issue? Maybe I missed it, but I was a little.
Yeah, I'll let Janine speak to that. She can speak to that much better than I can. But our goal really with the committee is to bring awareness to this and just see how we can get involved and try to help as many people as we can. But as far as the specifics about money, I can't speak to that tonight. And thank you for the question.
They weren't really asking for money. I went to their club meeting and I thought it was a great presentation, and I thought it was something that I know other districts are involved in this topic, so I thought it was something that I'd bring forward and let people be aware of. So this is just an awareness. They're not asking for anything at this point. So Okay, Chris, if you need to sign off, that's fine, or you stay on as
Okay,
long
great.
as you want.
Okay. Thank you so much. And again, please
Okay.
reach out with any questions you have, and I'm happy to answer as best I can. And if I can't, I will forward to Janine.
Okay, great.
All right,
you.
pleasure.
We are missing one of our presenters tonight, so we're not as tight on time as always, but we will go to, so Roseanne's not here, but we'll go to David, who is in the Rotary Club of Woodside Portola, and he is working on a global grant that's in Nepal.
Right. Well, thank you, Chris, and hi, everybody. And I only recognize a few faces here, so nice to meet you. I'll try to, it's a huge subject we're working on. I'll try to keep this within 10. It'll leave questions, I'm sure, for those of you who are interested in the subject. And of course, we'd welcome follow-up and feedback. What I'd like to start with is something to give you an idea of what we're up to. So this is basically an update on where we are and an invitation. Especially an invitation for those of you who are interested in education, especially internationally, and I think international, I guess, runs through most of our subjects tonight. We have, our club is Woodside Portola Valley. We have a application in with the Rotary Foundation for its 150,000 project. Our partner is the Rotary Club of Pokhara, which is Nepal's #2 city. We got the application in just in the nick of time. We got a lot of questions, and because COVID has absolutely ripped the country out there, it's been difficult to get all the answers together, but we do have them. They're in, and our contact said she's passed them on for review, so that's really good. But what else is happening at the same time is astonishing. Our objective is to put a new learning tool, which we call Luma, and I'll explain more about that, into 35 Nepali schools, and that'll be connected with a lot of other details. I'll describe that. All of the content and the applications that are part of this learning system that we've created are online. It's on Luma Online. It's under, I'll give you the address of 2 websites. Luma is spelled L-O-O-M-A, and Luma Online is luma.website. That's the total, all you'd have to key in. And our own website, which describes a bit more about us and what we're doing, is luma.education. So those are the 2 keys. So it's all online, and a few of the schools in Nepal, they have 34,000 schools. A few of them do have power and internet, and the kids and the teachers have hardware. So they've started on their distance learning. And some of them came to us and said, oh, gee, could we train them, because they found our material online and they found it attractive, and they started. We gave a little training, and the government caught on and came to us and said they wanted to make a deal because nobody else has ever given them, or nor have they created anything equivalent. So suddenly our product that we intended for people who are offline in the remote areas, the online portion of it has now become mainline for the Nepal government, and they're after us to train thousands of their teachers to be able to use Zoom and the online system. So that's happening. My invitation is to all of you who are educator Rotarians to have a look. And if you like, let's have a brainstorm to discuss what we're doing and what the potential impact is, and discuss whether you in your clubs, in your club would have a favorite country that you're working with, and you'd like to explore whether the system we're developing would be equally as exciting for the people in that country. So who are we? Well, it's Woodside Portola Valley is my club. And I co-manage a nonprofit called Luma Education Corporation. Pardon?
Uh, keep going. It's
Okay.
somebody that didn't mute themselves.
Okay, so we're Luma Education Corporation. So we're a nonprofit. I'm the founder. I've worked in Nepal 14 years. I've worked internationally most of my life for corporations. So what we're doing is we're creating technology to better lives. We've done other things. We've done bridges, we've done power systems. This education project, though, has the potential to impact, it's into the tens of millions, and it's an enormous new opportunity to crack a problem. And the problem is that there are a lot of schools out there, and Nepal has, I'd say 80–90% of their schools fit into the category that have no power, no internet, no real money for resources and materials. So the quality of education that the teachers can deliver is pretty low, and they tend to use basically, it's all rote learning. So it's very hard to, it's a terrible situation. It's very hard for anyone to come up with an efficient economic solution for this. So what we have done, no, I should say, give you some numbers. 34,000 schools. I would guess about 30,000 of those are the isolated ones. Nepal has 1 million more kids than California does of school age. I mean, it's astonishing. And they have 1/100th, 1 penny per our dollar of the money per kid for their education. And yet, of course, they have to pay world prices for computers and whatever else. So it's a major problem. They got $171 per kid. We have 17,000. So what to do about this? So we were looking at some kind of a way to have an audiovisual delivery platform from a single device that could be shared within a classroom. So it's shared by all the students. You don't have to provide the power, nor do you have to provide the equipment and the replacement for individual computers, right? Or laptops or whatever. Those are coming gradually. There will be more, but most of those 7 million kids can't afford it yet. So what to do? So we came up with a way to combine a really good little inexpensive computer. It's about $45. A LED projector that uses only about 50 watts, and we can create a 1 meter by 2 meter image on the wall, robust sound, massive storage of materials, and this can be then controlled by the teacher or the students using a simple wand, like an aerial mouse. And so I'm going to give you a few details of what it looks like here. If I may, I'll just share this. I'm not sure which of these is mine. Let's go here and share. Can you see that?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Oh, so it's a plywood box, very high quality plywood. Inside is projector, computer, sound system, and a chip that holds 128 gig. So it's remarkable. The challenge has been, you know, how to put these pieces together, because it hasn't been done by anyone commercially, and do it in a way that stays affordable for donors and for the school systems. Here's what it looks like, this box. If I click on this, it should circle for us. There you go. So you can see it's about 4 inches deep, about a foot each dimension, left and right. So that's it. Here's a quick shot of one of the schools. So this past year we had 12 schools in a pilot. This is like the 3rd round of pilots. We started in 2012, and through the iterations, the systems have become better. I want to show you just briefly what's inside that and what the kids get to see. And let's go back here. I will now have to pick this one, go here. Okay. There we are. So teacher turns on the system, just a flick of a switch, and this comes up. And what it contains is the textbooks, all the textbooks, and enormous amount of supplementary material for 10 grades. This is what, as far as we've taken it at this point. So for example, if I am teaching class 5 science, I click on 5, I click on science, and then it goes to this screen. The 3 columns on the left have to do with the English version of textbook. Nepal has generally both. And on the right are those that are in Devanagari. If, for example, we're on, well, let's say lesson 2 on the cell, if I want to show the kids the textbook, here it is. And you can scroll, you can do many things with this. If I want to look up a word, there's a built-in dictionary, gives them the definition and their translation. If I want to help them with pronouncing English, we have text-to-speech. I don't know if you'll be able to hear that. Well, maybe not. Anyhow, it's text-to-speech and, of course, a computer voice, but it's pretty good. And then if we look at this section right here, many of our volunteers have put together a lesson plan. Here it is, for the teachers. So they get not only the textbook, which is this item down here, but they get all these cues for it to help them run through a lesson and begin to emerge from the very confining shell of rote learning. They get into participation. So that's basically a quick look at the content. The Nepali side is much like that. It also has, we give them access to the library where the contents have been gathered into different categories, including thousands of videos and Khan Academy and a selection of Wikipedia. There's a way to search. They can go here and they can type in any search term like, I don't know, we'll look at the word school. And it comes up with all things that are related to the schools, lessons, photographs, different places. Okay, the next one is, this is the dictionary, which is constantly being built, especially to contain the words that are in their textbooks. There's a screen where they can draw and make pictures, so a whiteboard. There's a section on learning time. There's a section here on learning geography. A lot of built-in games and review opportunities. We have a few of these timelines so they can learn through history. What's the nature of the dynasties, for example, that have been in Nepal? And each of these is a lookup so they can find out about those. There are games. Many of them are review again, keyed to the lessons and in the classes and their subjects. Okay. So
David, is this a grant that you said has been approved at RI?
it's not yet been approved. We've developed this on our own. So we're in year 9 now. We've had hundreds and hundreds of volunteers. We have two university teams.
Are you looking for something specific tonight from this group, or are you just sharing information? I mean,
I am. The
Okay.
invitation is, this is
Okay.
something new for education, and we would love to have
okay,
a brainstorm with anyone who's interested in, they have a favorite country, or if they like Nepal, it's fine, come on.
hmm
And there is a huge amount to be done. It gives Rotary, as we move this along, it will give Rotary an utterly new tool to work with, to boost education. We've built schools, in the past. We've done a lot of things in education, but it's never happened before that this combine of knowledge and interactivity has been available. So that's it. And I'm
okay.
pleased. Incidentally, I'd want to thank your friend, Chris Eggers, who came before. We have a video in it about trafficking when they get into the social studies. That's the Girl Effect. And I think it was made by the same group.
Yeah, I've seen that one too.
Mhm.
So are you intending at some point in time to put this into a global grant, or?
Yes, so we have
Okay,
The grant is asking for Rotary to match. We raised 50K.
Okay,
The Rosestone has offered 50, and we're hoping Rotary will match 50 on that.
okay,
And so that will allow us to set up 35 schools where tomorrow, actually, we're starting the training of somewhere between 800 and 900 teachers in those schools to be able to use this online. And of course, that'll transfer once they get the equipment.
mhm,
And there will be a lot of research, sort of applied research, to make sure how we can use this, make this human interface work best. And we'd love to have people join us to expand it and move it beyond. And besides, now we have the government begging us to go faster.
yeah, good. Well, thank you for sharing. That's really interesting. And again, I'll have David's information on the agenda when it goes out with the link for the recording tonight. So that's very interesting. John David, I can see visually that you have your hand up.
I just one question. This device or this equipment is to be used in schools that have power. Is that correct?
No, it's for schools that don't have power. See,
So how do they get powered then?
okay, so a couple of 100-watt solar panels, we figure, and adequate storage.
Okay.
And any school anywhere, unless they're above the Arctic Circle, will be able to manage this. It only uses about 55 watts, and with it goes dim if you don't use it for a bit, so it saves energy.
And it projects on a
Okay.
screen or a wall or what?
Yeah, you paint the wall white, or they can hang. We've done it many ways. You can hang a white sheet. Best is if the wall is flat, so that if they have a white section.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mary Lou Griffin.
I forgot how much you said it, the unit cost.
Well, it costs, yeah. So, we're putting together other people's materials. So you're paying, it's not as
Right,
inexpensive.
I
as it would,
understand that.
that. So it's our material cost is about $950 at this point.
Per unit?
Per unit, yep. Yeah,
Okay.
that includes the wands, and in terms of replacement supplies and all, it's, the system itself will have to be updated periodically, but we're designing a system which will update it over the mobile phone network in these countries. So currently they do it with a thumb drive. The wand has, I don't know, AA batteries or AAA. Those would have to be replaced periodically.
Mhm.
They would need to have one or two deep cycle batteries to buffer and provide support for the system. Those don't last forever, but we've tuned it so that it goes easy on those batteries, so they have as long a life as possible.
Okay, we have one last question, and that goes to Holly. Go ahead.
Yeah, I know that we need to move on. So quick question. I know this is a global grant. What makes it sustainable?
Well, the government is the owner manager of most of the schools, and they're interested. Nepal has 7 provinces. Already 2 of the provinces have come to us, and we've explained to them that we don't intend to be in the business of making and distributing these things. We're going to train local entrepreneurs to be in the business of assembling the equipment and providing the software support. So they'll have a standalone Nepal capacity to carry this on their own within a few years. There's very little maintenance required as we've discovered on our system. The projector should be good for 10 years or more. In other words, it's very solid and robust. I've worked and been in a lot of Nepal schools, and I know what the conditions are generally. So we've designed to deal with those conditions. So it's Holly, one other thing is in Nepal, they have sort of a PTA type arrangement, sort of a parents committee. that has been given a lot more authority over the schools now since through the government action, and very enthusiastic response from those committees, and eager to make sure that it continues to work for their people. I mean, they are so desperate to get the education and to get up and out, you know.
Good. Thank you, David.
Mhm.
So, Keith, if you lose any time, you can blame your wife for that. So
No problem.
just go in the next room and tell her to be quiet. You're infringing on my time. So next up, we had Keith, who kind of laid some groundwork for us last month with his project in Ecuador, but he's going to get in a little bit more detail. So I hand it over to you, Keith.
Thank you very much, Chris. I appreciate it. I see a number of good Rotary friends on this meeting, and I just want to say hello. For those of you that don't know me or have not had a chance to work with, I'm with the Marin Evening Rotary Club, and I've sponsored a number of Rotary Foundation Global Grant projects. And I'm also currently honored to be the head of our district technical resource network, which is a group of knowledgeable Rotarians that assist Rotary clubs with their global grant projects. So any of you interested in learning more about the program, we're more than happy to assist. And I particularly want to thank the clubs that I just got I got a chat message from another Keith who says you scared him, Chris, when you called on Keith.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, Keith.
Sorry, Keith, you're off you're the other Keith, from Global Action. You're off the hook.
There we go. Anyway, a number of your clubs have assisted us, my Rotary Club, in projects in the past. And I want to thank you very much for that. We've had a long run with a number of successful projects, and it's worked out very well. Now, I'd like to tell you about our latest project in Ecuador, and I'm going to bring up a PowerPoint presentation. All I have to do is find it here. There, that should be it. Okay, there we go. This is a business development training program with microcredit loans added to it as an additional feature. It's in the Santa Elena province of Ecuador, which has a number of low-income people. It's along the coast, about 2 hours west of Guayaquil, their biggest city in Ecuador. The goal here is to help really low-income people, unemployed people, but who have skills or have some knowledge and motivation to learn to manufacture something that they can sell that would increase their incomes by giving them a business opportunity to set up their own small business. We want to help 80 people with this project, and they would be working together in their businesses. So there would be maybe 25 to 40 businesses formed to operate in these various areas where the people that are interested. The applicants will be coming to the operating agency and the Rotary Club with business ideas, and the people that seem to have workable ideas will be selected to participate in the program. Our partners for this global grant are the Rotary Club of Salinas, Spondilas, which is one of the major cities that's right out on the coast. Spondilas is a special kind of shell that they have in that area that they make into jewelry. That's why they've named the Rotary Club that way. The operating agency is Hogar de Cristo, which is located in Guayaquil. It's an organization that I've worked with since 2004 when we sponsored our first district microcredit project in the Guayaquil area. And we've had 3 total projects with them, including one project very similar to this one that I will tell you about in a few minutes. This project's a little special in that we also have the province working with us on the project, as well as the city of Salinas. The province, which is comparable to a county government, is going to be providing training and 2 classes in marketing and in social media for the new businesses that are formed. And the city of Salinas is going to be providing space, some signage, and other logistics. So it's kind of a several-step process. The participants will first receive training in business planning and business development as the first phase. The second phase will be in actually forming the business and education in a lot of the tax laws and legal requirements of the country of Ecuador in order to formalize a business. The next phase is vocational training, where they'll actually be trained to make a product or taught some kind of a craft skill. And I'll show you some examples from our Guayaquil project in a few minutes. Then I mentioned the training in marketing and social media. Once the business is formed, then they will qualify for microcredit loans. And at the same time, then they will have a mentor, a specialist with Hogar de Cristo, who will be meeting with the businesses and advising them on particular management techniques, accounting, and marketing techniques to help their business succeed. So it's kind of a complete package, and we found that it's worked very well in our past project. Several people have asked me about the advisability of going ahead with the training project during the COVID-19 lockdown period. And they've planned this program with that in mind. They've got the first phase training set up in a situation where they'll be training small groups, about 20 people each, with distancing between the people and with masks. And the second part of the training is being developed, or will be developed, and given in a virtual context, as opposed to in person. So this is one example of the type of business that we formed in our first project, which started in 2015. The government had put tariffs on shoes from China, and it created a marketing opportunity in Guayaquil for small businesses to start making sandals and other shoes. So the project had the same objective, to help people establish their own small businesses. They felt that if people would make something to sell, they could get more of the profit themselves, rather than if they set up a small store and sold products of other people. And this has proven to be the case. This project in 2015 served a huge slum community of about 300,000 people, one of the largest slum areas in Ecuador. It had a 7-month business development training program, and then loans were provided after the completion of the training. The new program that we're sponsoring has had the business development program synthesized into a shorter period because of the challenges of meetings in person. So they're boiling it down to the essential information, and we'll be providing that, and some of the rest will be given in person through the business mentoring. So Holly and I visited the training program that they put on back in 2015, and these are some of the shoes that some of the people were trained in making. This was before they actually established their own businesses. And then here's a completed product. a small group of ladies that had actually formed their own business working in a cooperative arrangement. The concept here is not to establish single proprietor businesses, but to get people working together and have a greater ability to produce products and market them in that way. Another group that made sandals, you'll see a wide variety of the kind of shoes that they're making. And they've been quite popular in that they're sold at a very reasonable price in these low-income communities. 12 of the women got together and organized a way to make these beautiful backpacks. And it proved to be so successful that they got a large contract from a national retailer to have them sold through their retail outlets. This is disinfectant. There's a big need for disinfectant in this huge low-income community. And several of these small businesses created started making this disinfectant to sell. These ladies are making bread and cookies to pass on, and a small group working on various kinds of crafts. You can see they're pretty happy about it here. Some example of some of the crafts that some of the businesses have set up to sell. And these ladies are making these beautiful decorative pillows. Once the businesses have been established, then Hogar de Cristo conducts an entrepreneurial fair so that the new businesses can begin marketing their products. It's like a trade fair or a craft fair that we have in our communities. And this is on the Malecon in Guayaquil. It gets a lot of traffic, so it helped get the businesses off to a good start. So in this project in 2015, we managed to create 87 new businesses, and 605 people completed the full 7-month business development course. It's a challenging course, and you can tell these are motivated people to finish out the full program. So we still are a little short on funding for our new project. It's a $66,000 project. We still need to raise about $40,000 to be able to send in the global grant application. We have the application just about finished, and we're working with a very strong Rotary Club in Ecuador that's got a committee of 6 people working on it. And we've just, other than my final review on the application, I think it's just pretty well set to go whenever we can finish up our financing. So if you're interested in helping, drop me a note on email or give me a call. I've sent out information about this to all the international service chairs. If anyone else would like further information, I'd be happy to provide it or answer questions, and just appreciate your consideration. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Keith. And that's a really nice soft sell going into David. So that was a nice setup because David is going to review district designated funds and DDF. And if you have DDF and you're interested in Keith's project, this is a way that you could help him. So I think he set you up on that, David, but otherwise.
Probably did.
So the floor is yours, David.
Okay. Well, I don't know that we have a common denominator as far as knowledge on what DDF is, so I'm going to take about a minute or two.
Right.
And,
I was going to suggest that you do that. Thank you.
all right. Every year, we as Rotarians are given the opportunity to contribute to the Share Fund at Rotary International, the foundation. The Share Fund is undesignated funds, so it's not funds that you allocate to polio or to one of the other endowments or some special project, but it's unallocated funds and it's accumulated. And what happens is that all the funds for 1 year are invested and they are then kept in investments for 3 years. The income that's generated off of them is used to help support the Rotary Foundation staff. It used to cover all their costs, but no longer does. So they have changed certain things about how it operates. And then after 3 years, 1/2 of the amount from the share fund comes back to our district in what's called district designated funds, or what we call DDF. The other half goes into the World Fund at the Rotary Foundation. And the World Fund is used in part to match the global grant DDF that is put out by the districts for projects. And the part of it goes to polio, and there are some other uses of that World Fund. Now, what happens when the DDF comes to our district is that we allocate it to all of our clubs for their use in either district grants, global grants, or the Global Scholar, or for polio or some of the other endowment funds of the Rotary Foundation. Our district is unique, not 100% unique, but most districts have a grants committee that actually does the allocations of the DDF to specific projects that the clubs propose to the grants committee, and then the grants committee selects the ones they want to fund with the DDF. Our district decided back in 5 years ago, basically, that we thought it would be better if the clubs themselves made a choice of how they wanted to use the DDF that they raised through their own efforts of their members or their own projects that went into the share fund. So what we do is we take the last 3 years of contributions that each club has made to the share fund, and we average it out, compare it to the total for all of the clubs in the district, comes up with a percentage, then we take the DDF that's available, allocate it then to the clubs. So the clubs then make a decision, and so for new for what happens is the allocation process there basically falls into 3 different buckets, if we want to call it that. The first one is use for a Global Scholar. At one of the pre-PETS meetings, the new president-elects have historically for the last 5 years voted unanimously to allocate 17,500 of the DDF and taking a proportional amount from each club based on their fair share to fund one Global Scholar. And so that DDF is submitted in a global grant application to the Rotary Foundation, and then they match it. So we end up with a $35,000 scholarship that's available. The clubs can then allocate all or part of their DDF, or none, to district grant projects. And the district grant projects need to be submitted to Cindy Sims, our district grant coordinator, by June 1st, in a district grant application that, is on our district website. You go through it, fill it out. This year it's been enhanced, so we don't have some of the problems that we've had in the past, but that then allows the clubs to use those funds for their own district grant projects. Now, there is a limitation on how much can be used for district grants. The Rotary Foundation has set a rule that basically says the district can use up to 50% of its allocated DDF for the year for district grants. Now, this past year, we actually went over that. So we did an allocation process where all the clubs that applied for use of the funds were allowed to get up to half of their club's allocation, and then we prorated the excess over that half between the clubs. So we had that formula. It seems to have worked. The clubs then had to either cut down, those that didn't have enough DDF coming through to fully fund their projects had to cut down the amount, by cutting the project down a little bit, or by funding it themselves from their own club resources. So, and I see there's a question in the chat box about whether or not district grants are restricted to local projects, and no, they are not. They can also be used for small international projects. They can also be used to fund sending a committee over on a global grant to do the essentially the research necessary to establish what that project will be, because that's part of what's required out of a global grant, is to have that kind of a study. So those funds can be used for that. So it's not required only for a local project. It could be used for some international projects. So what's left then after we take away the money that's used for the Global Scholar and the district grants is available to use for global grants. And the global grants can be global grants of the club themselves, another club in our district, or a club or district elsewhere in Rotary International. So the clubs are given the flexibility to do that allocation between themselves. That allocation has to be done by March 1st of each year by sending an allocation form to me. And then those funds are allocated. What's left and not allocated by March 1st is given by the district grants committee and the district governor participating and a few other people to fill out the global grant projects of other clubs in our district that need a little bit of DDF to help them get over the hump and be able to submit their application. So we are now coming up to that March 1st deadline. And 2 days ago, I emailed to all the club presidents and all of the Club International chairs the current DDF spreadsheet. And it shows at this point that there is, let's see what the total is available, that we have $79,483 of unallocated DDF. So Keith has got someone to go after. Some of the other clubs have those clubs that haven't used all their DDF to go after and do that. So you need to get me the information on how you want to allocate it. So along with this spreadsheet, I also sent out a new allocation form that Jane helped create. And it's a PDF form, but it's fillable. It covers the ability to allocate your DDF to a global grant or to polio or to one of the other endowment funds at the Rotary Foundation. But that needs to get to me by March 1st so that we can go ahead and record your allocation for whatever your club wants to do. Now, the theory of having all of the clubs make the choice of what they want to do is to help increase the amount that they contribute to the share fund. And it has actually worked. It has increased our donations to the share fund. And I think it gives the clubs a sense of this is, our money that we're putting in here and we're getting it back. So what happens at Rotary is that if you contribute $1 of DDF to a global grant project, the Rotary Foundation will match that with $1 out of the World Fund. So essentially, if you're using your annual share fund money for a global grant, you're getting back 100% of it through this formula that we use to allocate it at the district. If you used your funds for a district grant, you only get the DDF itself, you're not matched. So you're not getting the other 50%, but that's your club's choice. So we're asking that all of the clubs get their allocations in so that we can recognize them and go forward in that direction. Usually every year we end up with around $15,000 that clubs don't allocate, so then we use that and take the choice to where it should go. So if there are any other further questions.
David, there's one question in the chat box for you.
Okay, let's see what it says. Okay, well,
comes
there's a
first?
couple of them. Yeah, there's a couple of them. One is for global grants by March 1st. Is that the current president or the incoming PE? This is to be done by the current president and the international chair. They are the two that need to sign that form. For use of district grant money, that has to be by the PE, and that goes in by June 1st on this on our district website in the form that Cindy Sims has developed.
So to clarify, the PE, even though they're not installed yet, they still have to make the decision about the district grants.
That's correct. Yes, they do. So another question, which comes first, the global grant application or the application for DDF, followed by the global grant application? In order to make an allocation of or use the DDF, you have to have a global grant that has been started, because the form requires use of a global grant number. And that is assigned to you by the Rotary Foundation once you start the global grant application. So you have to have the project started in terms of its organization and the paperwork. You're then assigned a number. Basically, you're only required at the foundation level to put in the international club, the host club, basic description of the project and who the two committees are composed of, 3 members each. Then they will assign you a global grant number, and then you use that, and that's basically as far as it needs to be before you can allocate your DDF.
David, is there a way that Jackie Bonner asked this question, that you could let us know what global grants within the district still need funding?
Well, they are up on our district website.
Okay,
And Steve Wright has been the one that's been keeping that
Okay.
up there and organized, so you should be able to get it.
Okay.
I don't know if Keith's got his project up there. I assume so, and all of the rest, but it is on the district website.
okay, great. Good.
Okay, so
Hi.
that's it, and I encourage everybody to please get in your allocation forms, because that's what we want to do. We don't want to allocate it for you if you've got something you want.
And I know if you're not familiar with DDF and this whole conversation, it's a lot to kind of take in all at one time. So feel free to contact David or be in touch. Keith can help, Steve Wright. They're all members of both the grants committee and this committee, and they are happy to assist in that regard. So anyway, so we are continuing to schedule these once a month, as long as we have topics to talk about. The next one we have scheduled is February 10th at the same time, 6 to 7. So if, I'm always looking for topics. If nobody gives me any, then you have to bear with the things I come up with. So if there are things that you are interested in hearing about or whatever, or you yourself have an idea, please be in touch with me and let me know. I am going to have John Mathers from San Francisco number 2 has already agreed to speak on February 2nd regarding a global action, not global action. Poor Keith is going to get upset with me because I keep calling on him, but the other Keith from Global Action, but a climate action group that he's involved with. So anyway, I'm always looking for ideas and topics. So please reach out to me and let me know. And let's see, there's one last question. Are we going to postpone? I I don't know what's happened to Roseanne. So there was a question, are we going to postpone the Sierra Leone project till next month? If she contacts me and says, you know, oops, I'm sorry, I missed it. Can I present next month? Yes, for sure. So I assume she will see she was on the agenda and missed it tonight, but I sent it out several times, so I'm not sure what else I can do. But with that, Holly Axtell, it's straight up on 7 o'clock. So thank you all for joining us tonight, and I'll send out the agenda with everybody's contact information along with the link for the recording. And again, Bob Jacobson, as always, thank you so much for your support behind the scenes. So have a wonderful evening, everyone, and see you next month.